Capital Territory Administration has the responsibility of developing the nation's capital to rank among the best in the world. However, the city is yet to attain that height, which is further compounded by high cost of accommodation and insecurity. My guest this week is the Minister of the Federal Capital Territory. Hello there, welcome to the program this week. I'm Gloria Umezuke. The failure in implementing the Abuja master plan is owing to several factors, including the rapid development of the nation's capital. Well, this has given rise to crime and other related challenges. Well, we'll be looking at issues concerning the development of Abuja. But up ahead, the Abuja Development Control Unit has warned that abandoned and uncompleted buildings in the nation's capital will be investigated to ensure that it does not become a hideout for criminals. You take a listen now.
After about 4 months of publicity and notices sent to owners of uncompleted buildings in the Federal Capital Territory, the Development Control Department of the Federal Capital Development Authority rolled out its bulldozers to enforce demolition. According to the agency, there are over 500 uncompleted buildings within the city. Most of them have failed integrity tests and are now a threat to residents of the capital city.
Miscreants and other, elements normally make hideouts of these abandoned structures. Principally, this is the essence of this exercise, to make sure that we do not allow that haven to those people to hide, and cause any security breaches in the FCT. The revalidation involves a Smith-Hammer test, which is, a process of testing the structural integrity of that structure. Whether it can continue, the developer can just continue with that building, or it has weakened over time due to weather and other considerations. So when that hammer test was made, honestly, this structure has failed that test.
While some property owners complied with the agency's action, others explained why it has been difficult to do so.
Even before they came, I wanted to remove the structure by myself, because when I bought the property with the building, I didn't like the design because I saw that it does not conform very well with the...
We didn't get the notice because we are not in possession. The tenant we lease the property to is the one that has turned it into this dilapidated state, and that is the reason the landlord has taken them to court, right? So now that we now know that the steps that the development control are taking is now going to affect the interest of our client, we are now going to make sure that we compel them to restore the property back to the state we gave it to them as early as possible.
Should this exercise continue, over 500 uncompleted buildings in the Federal Capital Territory are expected to go down this way. The agency says it is acting within a legal framework which property owners are aware of.
On our interview this week, I spoke to the Minister of the FCT, Senator Bala Mohammed. Senator Bala Mohammed, you're welcome to the program.
Thank you.
Well, let's begin with the cost of living, or house rent, as it were, in the nation's capital, which is quite high, and it scares, one issue that scares a lot of people away from the FCT. What are you doing to check this?
Well, we are trying to create to incentivize the private sector to reduce the housing deficit in the FCT by leveraging on what the federal government is doing by the creation of the mortgage refinance, because we are putting all the building mortgage providers in the cooperatives that they will be able to access money in a single digit. The issue is that we must reduce the cost of land and the timeline for accessing approval and so on and so forth, because land registration is a key. And that is why we came up with a reform within the land administration to make sure that we reduce the time frame where land is applied and approval given, and when development approval is given by development control in terms of architectural drawings and so on and so forth. Because if development control does not do that, it all adds to the cost. And again, the premium, we have reduced the premium to a level where they do not add up to the cost of the buildings at the end of the day, so that off-takers will have it. But again, there is the issue of scarcity. The houses are not there. Or where they are there, they are not the ones that are supposed to be there in terms of the market. So we have really borrowed from the direction of the Mr. President. We are building about 2 districts to provide social and affordable housing in Wasa. And then, of course, we are doing urban renewal in Nyanya. At the same time, coming up with the land swap. The land swap is a land for infrastructure framework that we borrowed from Singapore and the other tiger economies, while the land itself is a resource that we really encourage the private sector to come and take large hectares of land in form of districts to provide primary infrastructure, roads, water, sewage, electricity, just like any other district that the federal government is now providing, so that we use the land to pay them off. The remaining land we give it to Nigerians to build affordable housing, social housing. The rest they can sell it. Even while they are selling, it is not too much astronomical the way they are buying through the third party that we now give people land through the ministerial approval. So we have tried to really create or recreate to come up with frameworks and programs where we will create and incentivize the private sector to create a minimal glut in terms of buildable land in the city. And of course also making sure that having provided the institutional framework of the land reform, where land registration is in tandem with the global best practice, you get the land in time, you get the development approval in time, and you go to building in time. And certainly when more land and more buildings are created, it will reduce the cost. We are avoiding legislation because we have seen what happened in Lagos. The landlords are very merciless. If we said we are coming with a legislation where we would tag the prices of rent and so on and so forth, it will not work because it has not worked elsewhere. But what we are trying to do by the time we come with our property tax is to cascade the rent streams to periods or timeline that is affordable. Or
what timeline is that?
Like 3 months, 2 weeks, 1 week, 1 year. Not the kind of timeline that landlords are giving. You must pay for 1 year, 2 years in advance before. Because if you look at the wages and salaries of people that are residing in Abuja, they can't afford it unless they go the corrupt way.
So how soon would this come up?
No, the property taxes in the National Assembly, it has gone through the second reading. By the time it comes out, landlord will be compelled to collect at least, even in the city of London where the property is the prime, you see people going to, with their families, they can rent for 1 week, for 2 weeks, for 1 month. Why can't we have it in Abuja? This is the kind of thing we want to do here.
That's commendable, and of course a lot of people will be waiting to see how feasible that will be. But the original inhabitants are still lamenting over their displacements, you know. So what has been done to sort this out once and for all?
The concept of Abuja was developed in such a manner that it is a land for all, a national heritage, a national program. And at the onset, all the people that are in